Hello and welcome to our exploring session, our first look at exploring session, continuing our journey through the true and honourable history of the life of Sir John Oldcastle, the good Lord Cobham. Let fair truth be graced, since forged in invention former time defaced. We're continuing our journey from, in the edition that we're looking at, Act 3, Scene 1, though that's not how I think it was originally printed, so it's basically probably fictitious. But we are continuing from that point onwards where we left off from the last session. We've met Lord Cobham, decent chap. His relationship with the King Henry, looks like that's gone downhill in his absence. Terrible things are going to be happening there. There's some reprobates wandering around. There's a lot of politicking going on. There's a lot to dig into this play, actually, that we've only really scratched the surface of, between the politics of the time the play was written in late 1599, the latter years of Elizabeth I, but also the historical period that the play itself is actually dealing with in the early years of the 15th century. There's France to invade. The King's quite busy at this time, but all sorts of things is going up and down the country, including threats of reformation, which may or may not occur. To continue our journey through this text, reading today, Cobham and Doll is...
Oh, me, Helen Good. I'm a historian, and I'm in Hull.
Reading Grey, Tom and the Bishop is...
Hi, I'm Lynn. I'm a college writing teacher. I live in the northwestern United States.
Reading variously Chartres, Murley, Harpoole and Wrotham is...
Hello, I'm Dan. I'm an actor based in Montpellier, France.
Reading Scroop, Dick and King is...
Hi, Alan Scott, Suffolk.
Reading Lady Cobham, Acton and Butler today is...
Rachael, Nicole, actor, New Jersey.
And reading Lady Powis, Bourne and Suffolk today is... Oh, Lalitte, you are muted at present. You'll need to unmute yourself on the Zoom thing. I will go to Eric while you do that. Reading Powis, Beverley and Huntington is...
Hi, I'm Eric, and I'm here without glasses. It's very weird.
Yeah, it's not as weird as my glasses. They're currently held together with a paperclip because I lost the screw in one side of my glasses. So, reading things is going to be quite tricky, as it were. Lalitte, are you able to unmute? Lalitte seems to be paused. Frozen indeed.
Frozen.
We seem to have lost Lalitte there. Okay, that could be awkward. I'll just pause here for a moment. And reading, now that technical gremlins have gone, reading Lady Powis, Bourne and Suffolk is...
Lalitte from France in Paris.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be hopefully just reading stage directions as we go forward and dive into Act 3, Scene 1. Enter the Earl of Cambridge, Lord Scroop, Grey and Chartres, the French factor.
Once more, my Lord Cambridge, make a rehearsal. How do you stand entitled to the crown? The deeper shall we print it in our minds, and every man the better be resolved, when he perceives his quarrel to be just.
And thus, Lord Scroop, Sir Thomas Grey, and you, Monsieur de Chartres, agent for the French. This Lionel, Duke of Clarence, as I said, third son of Edward, England's King III, had issue Philip, his sole daughter and heir, which Philip afterward was given in marriage to Edmund Mortimer, the Earl of March, and by him had a son called Roger Mortimer, which Roger likewise had of his descent Edmund, Roger, Anne, and Eleanor, 2 daughters and 2 sons. But those 3 died without issue. Anne that did survive, and now was left her father's only heir. My fortune was to marry, being too by my grandfather of King Edward's line. So of his surname I am called, Richard Plantagenet. My father was Edward, the Duke of York, and son and heir to Edward Langley, Edward the Edmund Langley, the third's fifth son.
So it seems your claim comes by your wife, as lawful heir to Roger Mortimer, the son of Edmund, which did marry Philip, daughter and heir to Lionel, Duke of Clarence.
True, for this Harry and his father both, Harry the First, as plainly doth appear, are false intruders, and usurp the crown. For when young Richard was at Pomfret slain, he in him the title of Prince Edward died, that was eldest of King Edward's sons, William of Hatfield, and their second brother, death in his nonage had before bereft. So that my wife, derived from Lionel, third son unto King Edward, ought proceed and take possession of the diadem before this Harry or his father king, who fetched their title but from Lancaster, fourth of that royal line. And being thus, what reason is but she should have her right?
I am resolved our enterprise is just.
Harry shall die, or else resign his crown.
Perform but that, and Charles the King of France shall aid your lords, not only with his men, but send you money to maintain your wars. 500,000 crowns he bade me proffer, if you can stop Harry's voyage to France.
We never had a fitter time than now, the realm in such division as it is.
Besides, you must persuade ye there is due vengeance for Richard's murder, which although it be deferred, yet will it fall at last, and now, as likely as another time. Sin hath had many years to ripen in, and now the harvest cannot be far off, wherein the weeds of usurpation are to be cropped and cast into the fire.
No more, Earl Cambridge. Here I plight my faith, to set up thee and thy renowned wife.
Grey will perform the same, as he is knight.
And to assist you, as I said before, Chartres doth gauge the honour of his king.
We lack but now Lord Cobham's fellowship, and then our plot were absolute indeed.
Doubt not of him, my lord. His life's pursued by the incensed clergy, and of late brought in displeasure with the king, as sure as he may be quickly won unto our faction. Who hath the articles were drawn at large of our whole purpose?
That have I, my lord.
We should not now be far off from his house. Our serious conference hath beguiled the way. See where his castle stands. Give me the writing when we are come unto the speech of him, because we will not stand to make recount of that which hath been said. Here he shall read our minds at large and what we crave of him.
And enter Cobham.
A ready way. Here come the man himself, booted and spurred. It seems he hath been riding.
Well met, Lord Cobham.
My Lord of Cambridge, your honour is most welcome into Kent and the rest of this fair company. I am new come from London, gentle lords, but will ye not take Cowling for your host and see what entertainment it affords?
We were intended to have been your guests, but now this lucky meeting shall suffice to end our business and defer that kindness.
Business, my lord? What business should you have but to be merry? We have no delicates, but this I promise you, a piece of venison, a cup of wine, and so forth, hunter's fare. And if you please, we'll strike the stag ourselves, shall fill our dishes with his well-fed flesh.
It is indeed the thing we all desire.
My lords, and you shall have your choice with me.
Nay, but the stag which we desire to strike lives not in Cowling. If you will consent and go with us, we'll bring you to a forest where runs a lusty herd, among the which there is a stag superior to the rest, a stately beast that when his fellows run, he leads the race and beats the sullen earth, as though he scorned it, with his trampling hoofs. Aloft he bears his head, and with his breast, like a huge bulwark, counterchecks the wind. And when he standeth still, he stretcheth forth his ambitious neck, as if he meant to wound the firmament with forked horns.
'Tis pity such a goodly beast should die.
Not so, Sir John, for he is tyrannous, and gores the other deer, and will not keep within the limits are appointed him. Of late he's broke into a several which doth belong to me, and there he spoils both corn and pasture. 2 of his wild race, alike for stealth and covetous encroaching, already are removed. If he were dead, I should not only be secure from hurt, but with his body make a royal feast.
How say you then? Will you first hunt with us?
Faith, lords, I like the pastime. Where's the place?
Peruse this writing. It will shew you all and what occasion we have for this sport.
Call ye this hunting, my lords? Is this the stag you fain would chase? Harry, our dread king, so we may make a banquet for the devil in the stead of wholesome meat, prepare a dish of poison to confound ourselves?
Why so, Lord Cobham? See you not our claim, and how imperiously he holds the crown?
Besides, you know, yourself is in disgrace, held as a recreant, and pursued to death. This will defend you from your enemies, and establish your religion through the land.
Notorious treason. Yet I will conceal my secret thoughts to sound the depth of it. My Lord of Cambridge, I do see your claim, and what good may redound unto the land by prosecuting of this enterprise. But where are the men? Where's power and furniture to order such an action? We are weak. Harry, you know's a mighty potentate.
Tut, we are strong enough. You are beloved, and many will be glad to follow you. We are the like, and some will follow us. Besides, there is hope from France. Here's an ambassador that promiseth both men and money too. The commons, likewise, as we hear, pretend a sudden tumult. We will join with them.
Some likelihood, I must confess, to speed. But how shall I believe this is plain truth? You are, my lord, such men as live in court, and highly have been favoured of the king, especially Lord Scroop, whom oftentimes hath made choice of for his bedfellow. And you, Lord Grey, are of his privy council. Is this not a trap, a train to entrap my life?
Then perish may my soul. What, think you so?
We'll swear to you.
Or take the sacrament.
Nay, you are noble men. And I imagine as you are honourable by birth and blood, so you will be in heart, in thought, in word. I crave no other testimony but this, that you would all subscribe and set your hands unto this writing, which you gave to me.
With all our hearts. Who hath any pen and ink?
My pocket should have one. Yea, here it is.
Give it me, Lord Scroop. There is my name.
And there is my name.
And mine.
Sir, let me crave that you would likewise write your name with theirs for confirmation of your master's word, the King of France.
That will I, noble lord.
So, now this action is well knit together, and I am for you. Where's our meeting, lords?
Here, if you please, the 10th of July next.
In Kent. Agreed. Now let us in to supper. I hope your honours will not away tonight.
Yes, presently, for I have far to ride for about soliciting of other friends.
And we would not be absent from the court, lest thereby grow suspicion in the king.
Yet, taste a cup of wine before you go.
Not now, my lord, we thank you. So farewell.
And they exit all except for Cobham.
Farewell, my noble lords. My noble lords. My noble villains, base conspirators. How can they look his highness in the face, whom they so closely study to betray? But I'll not sleep until I make it known. This head shall not be burdened with such thoughts, nor in this heart will I conceal a deed of such impiety against my king. Madam, how now?
Indeed, enter Harpoole and the rest, including Lady Cobham, Lady Powis, etc.
You're welcome home, my lord. Why seem ye so disquiet in your looks? What hath befallen you that disquiets your mind?
Bad news, I'm afraid, touching my husband.
Madam, not so. Here's your husband's pardon. Long may he live, each joy unto the other.
So great a kindness as I know not how to make reply. My sense is quite confounded.
Let that alone, and madam, stay me not, for I must back to court again with all the speed I can. Harpoole, my horse!
So soon, my lord. What will you ride all night?
All night or day. It must be so, sweet wife. Urge me not why nor what my business is, but get you in. Lord Powis, bear with me. And madam, think you're welcome ne'er the worse. My house is at your use. Harpoole, away.
Shall I attend your lordship to the court?
Yes, sir, your gelding. Mount you presently.
And exit Cobham.
I prithee, Harpoole, look unto thy lord. I do not like this sudden posting back.
Some earnest business is afoot belike. Whate'er it be, I pray God will be his good guide.
Amen. That hath so highly us bested.
Come, madame, and my lord, will hope the best. You shall not into Wales till he return.
Though great occasion be we should depart, yet, madam, will we stay to be resolved of this unlooked for, doubtful accident.
And they exit. End of scene. This is doing some interesting business. It's like it does seem it does feel like everybody in this play has a project. They're looking for funding. They're trying to expand. They're trying to, before they go out and and try and make it public. They need to get a name in, and everybody's picking Lord Cobham, regardless of whether Lord Cobham has any interest in their dealing at all. They all basically turn up and go, "Well, he's definitely going to be on board, isn't he? He's definitely going to be on board. He's never on board."
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got some really odd little bits of things going on here. We've got this essentially side plot that's come from nowhere. We haven't heard anything, I think, about Cambridge Scroop, etc. Before, and they come in and they do a bit of a presentation to make sure you're up to speed with what they're doing. It's one of those problems sometimes with history plays. You have to fit all the history in, yeah, they want Cobham on their side, and they all sign a form. That won't go badly for them, I'm sure.
I
Lynn?
don't remember if a version of this assassination plot is in the Famous Victories or not. Can someone remind me?
I think it's mentioned in passing. I don't think you see it. I can't remember off the top of my head. We've done it twice. I should remember.
Kind of a well-known episode in Henry's Legends, though, that there was this assassination plot that was uncovered right before he went to France.
Yeah, and it's the only bit of Henry V's reign that's mentioned in Mirror for Magistrates in the initial edition as well. So it's the bit apart from Agincourt that you're supposed to think of in terms of British history.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to me that Cambridge claims his lineage through his wife and then multiple female connections when he's directly descended from Edward through an all-male line on his father's side. So, I mean, he knew he had some claim to the crown because Edward had lots of sons and many of them had children, and so there were 11 billion fifth cousins running around who were all...
Yes, Edward III created so many problems for further down the line. Helen?
Yeah, I mean, to answer Lynn's point, the thing is that Lionel, Duke of Clarence, was older than John, Duke of Lancaster. And the fact that Edmund, Duke of York, we remember all these guys from Woodstock, the fact that Edmund, Duke of York, was younger than John, Duke of Lancaster, was negated by the fact that they got their infusion of the claim from a descendant of Lionel, Duke of Clarence, now deceased, long deceased far too early. But the thing that I'm trying to bring up, is that the thing that they are doing, which is wrong, I mean, apart from rebelling against the crown, is that they're doing it with the French, who are an enemy proclaimed. I mean, the Agincourt campaign is about to set off, and these guys are hand in glove with the King of France's agent. And that has always been a no-no.
And that's something that's sort of running underneath the surface of this play is, the king needs a stable kingdom while he's off going to fight in France. And so that's sort of the priority of this play, is tidying up, making sure everything's okay so he can set sail. So, an additional uprising here. And it's the way that Cambridge quite cynically is talking about, there's another rebellion sort of going on. We'll join with them. We'll sort of try and co-opt their audience base for our purposes. This is all exactly what Henry V does not want to be happening in his kingdom. I say this, and they're offering to Cobham, well, look, we don't care who's in charge of the church, so you can get your thing if we get our thing, honest. Which Cobham refuses to countenance, because he's an honest, good chap in so many different ways.
And a friend of the king's.
He's not going to rebel against the king, as he tells us in aside various times. How are we feeling about the nature of Cobham, Helen, having started reading him?
Oh, I mean, that there is no part of Cobham that is not a thoroughly good chap. Hospitable, open-handed, goes to endless trouble for his friends. He's on the right side of God and virtue in religion. I mean, there is nothing about Cobham that isn't absolute perfection.
Yeah, it makes you want to trip him up, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, but I mean...
Every bugger seems to want to.
Well, everybody, it's the way of the food he offers. It's good plain, hunter's fare. It's good solid stuff. It's,
nothing fancy.
Yeah, it's good. Fill the belly.
Yes, and he's fond of manly outdoor sports.
Yeah. What a man! What a guy. Rachael, then Alan.
No, because we read two tragedies recently, that one and that part with the hunt, and just that imagery of the hunt as this I don't know, sort of like prelude to something evil or some death happening or taking place. I don't know, that's just something I saw might be interesting.
Yeah, they do use the way they're talking about the hunt. Yeah, but they're hunting different game. They're hunting a king, and they're sort of trying to turn the conversation their way with that imagery. Yeah, the two tragedies, by the way, are in one play because it's two tragedies in one rather than two separate tragedies that we read recently. Great play, Alan.
Yeah, I must admit, the more we go into this, the more Cobham reminds me of Thomas of Woodstock. As the plain, honest, straightforward chap, surrounded by an awful lot of corrupt aristos who, basically will do anything to shaft anybody who's got any sense of honesty. No contemporary political resonance whatsoever.
Though, to be fair, Woodstock was slightly more ambiguous as a character. He did have his flaws and his quirks, and he wasn't entirely partial. He was generally a good chap, but there was also a lot of side to him as well. But yeah, Cobham doesn't seem to have any bad qualities at all. Helen, then Eric.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Cobham is that you could certainly trust him to make the speech at a wedding.
Yes. You can't for Woodstock.
No, I mean, and although he is virtuous, he doesn't show off his virtue. Now, I mean, Woodstock in the same position would have gone completely nuts on first being approached. He wouldn't have done the the quiet let's see and let's get their hands on this piece of paper.
Yeah.
So that I've got something to show the king.
Yes, Eric, I think, put in the chat, just going, these people are idiots. Eric, on that note, you want to say something?
I was going to say, yeah, Cobham does come across in this part as like honest and, good and intending and whatever, with good intentions anyway. But then there's that moment yesterday in the previous act, I think it was, or the first act, I can't remember, where he preempts the king's signature, like, of a document, and I'm like, is that not like manipulation? There's a part of me going sort of, I don't know.
He does like full paperwork, doesn't he? He does. He likes there to be a paper trail. Yeah, there was something a bit dodgy about that, wasn't it? It felt coercive of power, but then, you want to strike while the iron's hot, I suppose, when you're with the king. You might not get to see him again. Don't know what his diary's going to be like. He might be invading France tomorrow. Rachael, then we'll need to move on.
No, I just wanted to say that there's this interesting small bits of physical business between the actors that he's putting here, like with the, putting their hands to the paper, and yesterday there just seemed to be such significance to the passing of the ink and the passing back and forth of this gold. They're just such small things, but they have huge implications, small actions with these huge implications that it can be so much behind.
Yeah, because we were saying that these people are very stupid to put their signature on something, but that scene could be played like they know they're going to do something really dangerous, but they really need him, so there could be, that scene could play out in a slightly different way to how at first sight it looks, and similarly with the king earlier as well, actually, and the way some of these scenes could negotiate in practice might be more complex. And there might be more to dig out of this. Anyway, sadly, we need to move on to Act 3, Scene 2, as we have it here, and a questionable stage direction. Enter Murley with his men, prepared in some filthy order for war.
Right. Come, my hearts are fleeing, modestly, decently, soberly, and handsomely. No man afore his leader. Follow your master, your captain, your knight that shall be, for the honour of mealmen, millers, and workmen, done is the mouse. Dick and Tom, for the credit of Dunstable, ding down the enemy tomorrow. Ye shall not come into the field like beggars. Yeah. Oh, where be then, lords, my two loaders? Oh, have mercy upon us, or a word into this. I would give a couple of shillings for a dozen of good feathers for you, 40 pence for as many scarfs to set you out withal. Frost and snow, a man has no heart to fight till he be brave.
Master, I hope we be no babes. From manhood, our bucklers and our town footballs can bear witness, and this light apparel we shall have off, and we'll fight naked afore we run away.
Nay, I am of Lawrence mind for that, for he means to leave his life behind him. He and Leonard, your two loaders, are making their wills because they have wives. Now we bachelors bid our friends scramble for our goods if we die. But master, pray ye, let me ride upon cut.
Right. Meal and salt, wheat and malt, fire and tow, frost and snow. Why, Tom, thou shalt let me see. Here are you. William and George are with my cart, and Robin and Odge holding my own two horses. Right. Proper men, handsome men, tall men, true men.
But master, methinks you're a madman to ask in your own person, and a cartload of money too.
Yea, and master, there's a worse matter in it. If it be as I heard say, we go to fight against all the learned bishops that should give us their blessing. And if they curse us, we shall ne'er speed the better.
Nay, brother lady, some say the king takes their part. Master, dare you fight against the king?
Aye, paltry in and out, to and fro upon occasion. If the king be so unwise to come there, aye, we'll fight with him too.
What if ye should kill the king?
I will make another.
Is that all? Do you not speak treason?
If we do, who dare trip us? We come to fight for our conscience and for honor. Little know you what is in my bosom. Look here, mad knaves, a pair of gilt spurs.
A pair of golden spurs? Why do you not put them on your heels? Your bosom's no place for spurs.
Be more or less upon my occasion. Lord have mercy upon us. Tom, thou a fool. Thou speakest treason to knighthood. There anywhere golden or silver spurs, that he be a knight. No, I shall be knighted tomorrow, and then they shall on. Thus, was it ever read in the church book of Dunstable that ever malt man was made knight?
No, but you are more. You are a meal man, malt man, miller, cornmaster, and all.
Yea, and half a brewer too, and the devil and all for wealth. You bring more money with you than all the rest.
More's my honour. I shall be a knight tomorrow. Let me suppose my men. Tom upon Cut, Dick upon Hob, Hodge upon Ball, Rafe upon Sawyer, and Robin upon the force.
And enter Acton, Bourne, and Beverley.
And who comes there?
All friends, good fellow.
Friends and fellows indeed, Sir Roger.
Why, thus you show yourself a gentleman, to keep your day and come so well prepared. Your cart stands yonder, guarded by your men, who tell me it is loaden with coin. What sum is there?
10,000 pounds. Sir Roger, and modestly, decently, soberly, and handsomely, see what I have here against I be knighted.
Gilt spurs, 'tis well.
But where's your army, sir?
Dispersed in sundry villages about, some here with us in Highgate, some at Finchley, Tottenham, Enfield, Edmonton, Newington, Islington, Hogsdon, Pancrage, Kensington, some near Thames, Ratcliffe, Blackwall, and Bow. But our chief strength must be the Londoners, which, ere the sun tomorrow shine, will be near 50,000 in the field.
Marry, God deal you, dainty my dear. But upon occasion, Sir Roger Acton doth not know the king know of it and gather his power against us?
No, he's secure at Eltham.
Or to the clergy?
Fear extremely, yet prepare no force.
In and out, to and fro, bully my boykin, we shall carry the word afore us. I vow by my worship, when I am knighted, we'll take the king napping if he stand on their part.
This night we few in Highgate will repose. With the first cock we'll rise and arm ourselves to be in thicket field by break of day, and there expect our general.
Sir John Oldcastle, what if he come not? Hey,
Bourne.
Jason Bourne.
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Bourne, yeah.
Sorry. 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 That completely...
What if he come not, Sir John Oldcastle?
Someone read it. Sorry.
Yet our action stands. Sir Roger Acton may supply his place.
True, Master Bourne, but who shall make me knight?
Either hath power to be our general.
Talk not of trifles, come, let's away. Our friends of London long till it be day.
And they exit. I'm starting to think of all these various different rebellions of calling them waiting for Oldcastle. Everybody wants a piece of Oldcastle, and they're all banking on Oldcastle turning up. I mean, has anyone even phoned his agent from this group? I mean, nobody's even done a basic availability check to see if he's interested. It's fascinating. Murley and his spurs that he seems to be wearing, gilt spurs that he seems to be wearing on his chest like medals. I mean, did I read that right? There's some really weird business going on here. Thoughts on the room? I'll go to Eric, then Lynn.
I pictured that more as like he's got them like, hanging from like, his shoulders, and then they just happen to be hanging there like medals, and he's like, oh, look, I've got medals as well.
Lynn.
Actually, on the spurs, because Tom says something about in my bosom, I thought maybe he had them like in his doublet and then pulls them out, say, look what I've got. But anyway, what I was going to say is, Elizabeth said something yesterday about how evocatively the characters are sketched, and that's what I'm thinking about here, that just with these little gestures, you really get a sense of who these men are. And it's making me feel a little sad that these like really enjoyable characters, they're on the wrong side. They're on the side of the bad guys.
I don't think it's a spoiler to say they're really going to lose out here. Helen.
Murley's men are so much more sensible than he is. I mean, he's got knighthood in his sights, and he's not going to listen to reason anywhere. And I was trying to work out whether we're on the North London line or whether this is the Metropolitan. I mean, we've got...
It does have a tube map quality to it, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean...
I was thinking just a minute, doing a list.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. I mean, I put Mornington Crescent in the chat because I found that somewhere there was... I mean, Hogston is... I forget what Hogston is now, but Pancras is... Hodston. Pancras is St Pancras.
So we can be on the Northern Line.
I suppose so.
Or Victoria, if we're going up to Islington.
Yes.
Or Metropolitan.
I mean, Finchley and Frogmore are on that north, what used to be the North Circular. It's now part of the Overground. Yeah, I mean, these places are not difficult to get to.
Obviously, transport network was slightly different in the past, and for those who have no idea what we're talking about when we talk about Mornington Crescent, it's part of a radio game show where people basically pretend to go round. The aim is to get to Mornington Crescent on a tube map, but it's all a lie. There's no system, there's no rules. It's just people just randomly saying tube stations.
And Mornington Crescent doesn't exist.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
It's
Not
closed,
on the
isn't
tube
it?
map.
Anyway, we're going to go. Stop going off tangent. I just wanted to explicate for those who are not so steeped in UK culture. So yeah, I mean it's really interesting. They're talking about which horses they seem to be using. And it's always nice to have horse action as an option. We're fans of quadrupeds in plays, and we like to see more of it. I mean they're so. But here even that Acton and Beverley and Bourne seem to be a bit doomed, and it's the question of, do you trust any of these figures? He's got £10,000. They got 50,000 in the field. How much of this is true? Helen.
Yes, I mean it was interesting that Robin, the various horses they're placed on. Robin is on the 4-horse, which means that these are not riding horses; they're dray horses. I mean, we're not, and they're not well armed or well prepared. And I love the line: "A man has no heart to fight till he be brave." It's a concept that the military has embraced.
Any other thoughts about this scene, Lynn?
I just etymology note: brave in this sense doesn't mean courageous so much as splendid, well turned out, showy.
Which was again something made much of in Woodstock when we were looking back at the concept of being bravely attired as opposed to. In
fact, that sense of brave lasted until the 19th century. Dickens says something about Mrs. Cratchit brave in ribbons, which are cheap and make a goodly show for sixpence. So a sense of brave as being splendid or showy was still current, in the early 1900s. Sorry, word
nerd. Rachael.
No, it was about what Helen said. So they're riding on, like cart horses, not riding horses. Just like farm equipment is what they've brought to this rebellion.
Yeah, you're not going to travel at speed on any of these. They're going to be dependable, powerful, and slow. That's what they're for. So you're not going to charge with these things for more than a few yards. If you can persuade them to charge at all. Eric.
Yeah, but to be fair, we like when Murley was introduced, one of the first things that he said was, "I'm just a brewer. I don't know anything about this kind of stuff."
But they're learning fast.
Yeah.
Anyway, we need to continue, as it were. So, Act 3, Scene 3, and we're going to reintroduce ourselves to Sir John of Wrotham and Doll.
By my troth, that as jealous a man as lives.
Canst thou blame me, Doll? Thou art my lands, my goods, my jewels, my wealth, my purse. None walks within 11 miles of London, but applies thee as truly as the parish does the poor man's box.
I am as true to thee as the stone is in the wall. Thou knowst well enough, Sir John, I was in as good a doing when I came to thee as any wench need be, and therefore thou hast tried me, that thou hast, by God's body. I will not be kept as I have been, that I will not.
Doll, if this blade hold, there's not a peddler walks with a pack, but thou shalt as boldly choose of his wares as with thy ready money in a merchant shop. We'll have as good silver as the king coins any.
What is all the gold spent when you took the last day from the courtier?
'Tis gone, Doll, 'tis flown, merely come, merely gone. Here comes a horseback that much pay for all. We'll have as good meat as money can get, and as good gowns as can be bought for gold. Be merry, wench. The maltman comes on Monday.
You might have left me at Cobham until you'd been better provided for.
No, sweet Doll, no. I do not like that. Yon old ruffian is not for the priest. I do not like a new clerk should come in the old belfry.
Thou art a mad priest, i' faith.
Come, Doll. I'll see thee safe at some alehouse here at Cray, and the next sheep that comes shall leave his fleece.
And they exit. So it's just a brief little touching base with Doll and Wrotham here. Not doing too well in the money front. And yeah, it doesn't look like Wrotham likes the idea of Doll being outside of his immediate orbit. I don't know if that suggests a lack of trust on his behalf. Or other things. Alan.
I think there's also several lines in there that could have been played for double entendre.
Yeah, there was. I was wondering how modern those double entendres could be. Yeah, the line about the new clerk felt like that could have a suggestive reading.
I think the whole thing is intended to be played for low comedy. And I still maintain that Doll is not quite as dumb and innocent as she maybe appears in the words on the page.
Oh no, I think she has a very clear idea of which way the wind blows. I think yeah. Other thoughts, Rachael?
No, I don't know. Is Wrotham gonna just steal from somebody, or is he gonna murder somebody? Because that last line seems like it could be like stealing the clothes off a man's back, or
I think that's the idea. I don't think he generally goes in for murder. I think it's more just straightforward petty theft.
Only if it's an unavoidable side effect.
Oh, I imagine he doesn't have any qualms, but it's just very difficult to get away with murder. It's much harder.
Easier just to nick the purse.
Eric.
So basically, he's stolen the purse off the butler. Is that the idea, or is that just me?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I mean, we've haven't had particularly explicit saying of it. You know, it's been mentioned, but it was always a bit askance. But yes, basically, he did. But yeah, he spent it. Coin runs just he spends it like nobody's business. Lynn.
So I mean, what is he? Is he a bishop?
No.
He's something.
He's just a priest.
He's just a priest. Okay.
I mean, how much that "sir" means is anybody's guess.
Because high-ranking churchmen were not, stereotypically thought to be short on cash. That's part of the problem here. Is that bishops and abbots and people in positions of authority had money, but Wrotham doesn't. He seems always strapped for cash.
I think it's because he spends it so quickly. Helen.
Yeah, I felt that Dol was slightly regretting or trying to make Sir John believe that she was regretting, that she felt she could possibly have done better for herself than hitch herself to a man who was part-time priest and part-time highwayman.
Oh yeah, I mean that when he says, when she's saying like, "Oh, you could have left me at Cobham," I'd catch you up again later. When he says, "I want to keep you with me," you get the impression, because he wants to keep an eye on her. There could be something a bit coercive about elements of this as well.
Yeah, I felt if she'd wanted to get away, she could have done, but she was feeling, am I making the right decision here? Should I perhaps not look for a better man to attach myself to? Even though he's fun at times when he's got money.
Yeah. Eric?
I was going to say Wrotham probably hangs out with like the priest from Misogynist, gambling and all that stuff, sort of losing money and being a bad influence.
Oh yeah, I'm sure they all get together every so often, have a bit of an ease up. Alan, then Rachael.
Or is it just Dol pitching? Buy some nice prezi.
Rachael.
Yeah, I mean, I feel this scene is, production or, director's choice of, because Wrotham does, he said, "Dol, if this blade holds," he does have a weapon in this scene, and this could be her saying these things because she sees that he's got issues with violence, and perhaps there's that play in this scene for the actors if production wanted that in there, that it could be that she's afraid that he's gonna take that out on her, and she could be a bit of a hostage in this situation. Just I don't know, a call girl who had a regular client, and now he's a little violent and not there.
I think that's an option, or at least on some kind of spectrum along those lines. There might be something there to play with. Certainly not someone I'd recommend for the Royal Society. Dan.
Oh, actually, I didn't really have anything other than I would think that would be sort of a presentist reading of what they would do today with this role. So.
Okay, let us move on because we're going to have a bit more Wrotham action in just a moment. But before that, Act 3, Scene 4, enter the King with Suffolk and... Butler. Have I given out Butler? I don't remember. Does someone have Butler?
Me.
Excellent, phew. Okay, enter the King, Suffolk and Butler.
My Lord of Suffolk, post away for life, and let our forces of such horse and foot as can be gathered up by any means make speedy rendezvous in Tuttle Fields. must be done this evening, my lord. This night the rebels mean to draw to head near Islington, which if your speed prevent not, if once they should unite their several forces, their power is almost thought invincible. Away, my lord, I will be with you soon.
I go, my sovereign, with all happy speed.
And exit Suffolk.
Make haste, my lord of Suffolk, as you love us. Butler, post you to London with all speed. Command the mayor and shreves on their allegiance. The city gates be presently shut up, and guarded with a strong sufficient watch, and not a man be suffered to pass without a special warrant from ourselves. Command the postern by the tower be kept, and proclamation on the pain of death, that not a citizen stir from his doors, except such as the mayor and shreves shall choose for their own guard and safety of their persons. Butler, away! Have care unto my charge.
I go, my sovereign.
Butler!
My lord?
Go down by Greenwich and command a boat at the Friar's Bridge. Attend my coming down.
I will, my lord.
And exit Butler.
It's time, I think, to look unto rebellion, when Acton doth expect unto his aid no less than 50,000 Londoners. Well, I'll to Westminster in this disguise to hear what news is stirring in these brawls.
And enter Sir John and Dole.
Stand true, man, says a thief.
Stand thief, says a true man. How if a thief?
Stand thief, too.
Then thief or true man, I see I must stand. I see, howsoever the world wags, the trade of thieving yet will never down. What art thou?
Good fellow.
So am I too. I see thou dost know me.
Thou be a good fellow. Play the good fellow's part. Deliver thy purse without more ado.
I have no money.
I must make you find some before we part. If you have no money, you shall have wear, and as many sound dry blows as your skin can carry.
Is that the plain truth?
Here are, no more ado. Come, give me the money. You have dispatch. I cannot stand all day.
Well, if thou wilt needs have it, there 'tis. Just the proverb, one thief robs another. Devil are all my old thieves that were wont to keep this walk. Falstaff the villain is so fat he cannot get on his horse. And we think coins and pesos should be stirring hereabout.
How much is there, aunt of thy word?
£100 in angels on my word. The time has been I would have done as much for thee, if thou hadst passed this way as I have now.
Sirrah, what art thou? Thou seemst a gentleman.
I am no less, yet a poor one now, for thou hast all my money.
From whence camest thou?
From the court at Eltham.
Art thou one of the king's servants?
Yes, that I am, and one of his chamber.
Ha! I am glad thou art no worse. Thou mayest the better spare thy money, and thinkest thou mightst get a poor thief his pardon, if he should have need.
Yes, that I can.
Aye. Wilt thou do so much for me, when I shall have occasion?
Yes, faith will I, so be it for no murder.
Nay, I am a pitiful thief. All the hurt I do a man, I take but his purse. I'll kill no man.
Then of my word I'll do it.
Give me thy hand of the same.
There 'tis.
Methinks the king should be good to thieves, because he has been a thief himself, though I think now he be turned true man.
Faith, I've heard indeed he has had an ill name that way in his youth. But how canst thou tell he has been a thief?
How? Because he once robbed me before I fell to the trade myself. When that foul villainous guts that led him to all that roguery was in his company, that false stuff.
Well, if he did rob thee then, thou art but even with him now, I'll be sworn. Thou knowest not the king now, I think, if thou sawest him.
Not I, a faith.
So it should seem.
Well, if old King Henry had lived, this king that is now had made thieving the best trade in England.
Why so?
Why? Because he was the chief warden of our company. It's pity that ere he should have been a king, he was so brave a thief. Hey, but Sirrah, wilt remember my pardon if need be?
Yes, faith, will I.
Wilt thou? Well then, because thou shalt go safe, for thou mayst hap, being so early, be met with again before thou come to Suffolk, if any man, when he should be thee, good morrow, bid thee stand, say thou but, Sir John, and he will let thee pass.
Is that the word? Well then, let me alone.
Nay, sirrah, because I think indeed I shall have some occasion to use thee, and as thou comest off this way, I may light on thee another time, not knowing thee here. I'll break this angel. Here, take thou half of it. This is a token betwixt thee and me.
God have mercy. Farewell.
My fine golden slaves, here's for thee, wench, in faith. Now, doll, we will revel in our bower. This is a tithe pig of my vicarage. God have mercy, neighbors, Shooter's Hill. You paid your tithe honestly. Well, I hear there's company of rebels up against the king, got together in Thicket Field near Holborn. And as it doth here in Kent, the king will be there tonight in his own person. Well, I'll to the camp, and it shall go hard. But if there be any doings, I'll make some good boot amongst them.
And exit Wrotham. Following the previous scene where Wrotham's going, I don't have any cash, he immediately tries to rob the king, who's in disguise for no readily apparent reason. It's and then he's going to join up with the king's camp to face down the rebels. So presumably Wrotham is also in disguise with in traditional highwayman's hanky across the face, which means that no one knows who you are. Indeed. Thoughts from the room, and I'm just going to hold this object here for no readily apparent reason. Any thoughts? Lynn.
Yeah, some big Henry V name-checking callbacks, famous victories vibe going on here, right? Let's just really hammer home the king used to be a thief, and now I'm a thief, so I'm like a king, and okay, we get it. But it is a really funny gag, though.
Yeah, it is that, and it's sort of set up without being set up as well, because we had this scene with Wrotham before, going, I need to get somebody, but then the king always in disguise, and then it's just I think there's something really quite delightful about that I think an audience would respond really well to, just going, oh no, you don't want to be robbing this guy. King dies, history suddenly takes a left turn.
Yeah, Rotham's a fun character. I like the whole Friar Tuck, lusty man of the church. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just sort of there's a lot of fun stuff going on today.
And of course, we've still got this sense of impetus as well, because we have got a rebellion going on. So the scene opens with this, Lord of Suffolk, go, Butler, you go. No, hang on, Butler, come back. So much so that he tells Butler to go, and Rachael took the king at his word, thinking, oh, that's me done. And no, come back again. Oh no, more dialogue. Which was felt very right within the context of the scene. I really like that. Alan.
I'm just wondering, actually, because we have commented before, there are two characters in this called Butler. There is Butler as in senior servant, and there is Master Butler of the Privy Chamber. And I just wonder whether that sequence we got was not actually calling Master Butler back from his errand, but asking the senior servant to do something else.
Well, yeah, actually, I'm questioning that attribution of there being a separate butler, because or whether the butler that we had in that random scene was just Butler helping out the scene, and it wasn't actually a different person. He did play it like he's subordinate, and he was just a random servant person. But there was part of me thinking either it's doubling and they just use the same name there. Or whether actually it's the same person who's in the household at the time who's just being useful. There was part of me just wondering if that actually was a misunderstanding. I'm just throwing that in there. I'm not saying that's true. But anyway, and it doesn't really matter. But this one is definitely not a butler. He is Butler, who is of the Privy Council. Yes. Eric, I think I saw. I may even said to speak earlier, and then Helen.
Yeah, I was going to say it's kind of like, is the king disguised, or is he just like sort of just happening to be wearing like sort of normal clothing as opposed to his royal, garb, and sort of doesn't get recognized?
No, he does explicitly say, "I'll to Westminster in this disguise." So he's deliberately going out incognito for no apparent reason, beyond to just get some intelligence from the ground.
It kind of fits in with that Tanner scene that we did once upon a time. I can't remember Edward. It's not Edward III. It's something else. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it was Edward IV. It was definitely an Edward. But yes, kings going out in disguise does pop up in plays. It's plural. Helen.
Yeah, Butler. Just a random thought on Butler. The fact that he's acting as a servant doesn't preclude him being a very senior nobleman, because the service of the household was occupied by people of extremely noble rank indeed. They didn't necessarily do the dirtiest jobs, but they certainly held the posts. And if the king wanted someone to pass him a cup or a napkin, they would leap to it.
Okay. Any other thoughts on this this little thing? Wrotham's going to join the king's side in the rebellion. Everyone's near Thicket Field, near Holborn. So that's, and it seems like from all reports, the numbers we got in the earlier scenes are absolutely right. It does seem like there are 50,000 men. So this is big. This is big. No social distancing here. Okay. Let us go to Act 4 as we have it. Scene 1. We're going back to the king, who we haven't seen for a little bit, in his normal garb, I think, here. Enter King Henry, Suffolk, Huntington, and 2 with lights.
My lords of Suffolk and of Huntington, who scouts it now? Or who stands sentinels? What men of worth? What lords do walk the round?
May it please your highness.
Peace, no more of that. The king's asleep. Wake not his majesty with terms nor titles. He's at rest in bed. Kings do not use to watch themselves. They sleep, and let rebellion and conspiracy revel and havoc in the commonwealth. Is London looked unto?
It is, my lord. Your noble uncle Exeter is there, your brother Gloucester, my lord of Warwick, who, with the mayor and the aldermen, do guard the gates and keep good rule within. The Earl of Cambridge and Sir Thomas Grey do walk the round, Lord Scroop and Butler scout. So, though it please your majesty to jest, were you in bed, well might you take your rest.
I thank ye, lords, but you do know of old that I have been a perfect night walker. London, you say, is safely looked unto. Alas, poor rebels, there your aid must fall. And the Lord Cobham, Sir John Oldcastle, he's quiet in Kent. Acton, ye are deceived. Reckon again, you count without your host. Tomorrow you shall give account to us. Till when, my friends, this long, cold winter's night, how can we spend? King Harry is asleep, and all his lords. These garments tell us so. All friends at football, fellows all in field. Harry and Dick and George. Bring us a drum. Give us square dice. We'll keep this court of guard for all good fellows' companies that come. Where's that mad priest that you told me was in arms to fight as well as pray if need required?
He's in camp, and if he knows of this, I undertake he would not be long hence.
Trip, Dick. Trip, George.
And they trip.
I must have the dice. What do we play at?
And they play at dice.
Passage, if you please.
Set round then. So, at all.
George, you're out. Give me the dice. I pass for £20. Here's to our lucky passage into France.
Harry, you pass indeed, for you sweep all.
A sign King Harry shall sweep all in France.
Enter Sir John Wrotham.
Edgy good fellows, take a fresh gamester in.
Master Parson, we play nothing but gold.
And fella, I tell thee that the priest hath gold. Gold. 'Sblood, ye are but beggarly soldiers to me. I think I have more gold than all you three.
It may be so, but we believe it not.
Set, priest, set. I pass for all that gold.
Ye pass indeed.
Priest, hast thou any more?
Zoons, what a question is that? I tell thee, I have more than all you three at these 10 angels.
I wonder how thou comest by all this gold. How many benefices hast thou, priest?
Faith, but one. Dost wonder how I come by gold? I wonder how poor soldiers should have gold. For I'll tell thee, good fellow, we have every day tithes, offerings, christenings, weddings, burials, and you poor snakes come seldom to a booty. I'll speak a proud word. I have but one parsonage, Wrotham. 'Tis better than the bishopric of Rochester. There's ne'er a hill, heath, nor down in all Kent, but 'tis in my parish, Barham Down, Cobham Down, Gad's Hill, Wrotham Hill, Blackheath, Coxheath, Smallheath, Birchen Wood. All pay me tithe gold, quotha. Ye pass not for that.
Harry, you're out now. Parson, shake the dice.
Set. I'll cover ye it all. They got, I'm out. The devil, the dice, and the wench, who will trust them?
Sayest thou so, priest? Set fair at all for once.
Out, sir, pay all.
But pay me angel gold. I'll none of your cracked French crowns nor pistolets. Pay me fair angel gold as I pay you.
No cracked French crowns? I hope to see more cracked French crowns ere long.
Thou meanest of French men's crowns when the king is in France.
So round it all?
Pay all. This is some luck.
Me the dice. 'Tis I must shred the priest. At all, Sir John.
The devil and all is yours. At that. Steph, what casting is this?
Well thrown, Harry of faith.
I'll cast better yet.
I'll be hanged. Sirrah, hast thou not given thy soul to the devil for casting?
I pass for all.
Thou passest all the ere I played withal. Sirrah, dost thou not cog, nor foist, no slur?
Set, parson, set. The dice die in my hand. When, parson, when? What, can you find no more? Already dry? Wast you bragged of your store?
All's gone but that.
What, half a broken angel?
Why, sir, 'tis gold.
Yea, and I'll cover it.
The devil do ye gold on't it. I am blind, ye have blown me up.
Nay, tarry, priest. You shall not leave us yet. Do not these pieces fit each other well?
What if they do?
Thereby begins a tale. There was a thief, in face much like Sir John, but 'twas not he. That thief was all in green. Met me last day at Blackheath, near the park. With him, a woman. I was all alone, and weaponless. My boy had all my tools, and was before providing me a boat. Short tale to make, Sir John, the thief I mean, took just £100 in gold from me. I stormed at it, and swore to be revenged if e'er we met. He, like a lusty thief, brake with his teeth this angel just in two, to be a token at our meeting next, providing I should charge no officer to apprehend him, but at weapon's point recover that and what he had besides. Well met, Sir John. Betake ye to your tools by torchlight. For Master Parson, you are he that had my gold.
Toots, I won't in play, in fair square play of the keeper of Elton Park, and that I will maintain with this poor Wynyard, be you two honest men to stand and look upon, and let's alone and take neither part.
Agreed. I charge ye do not budge a foot. Sir John, have it ye.
Soldier, wear your sconce.
Here, as they are ready to strike, enter Butler and draws his weapon and steps betwixt them.
Hold, villains, hold, my lords. What do you mean to see a traitor draw against the king?
The king. God's will, I am in a proper pickle.
Butler, what news? Why dost thou trouble us?
Please at your highness, it is break of day, and as I scouted near to Islington, the grey-eyed morning gave me glimmering of armoured men coming down Highgate Hill, who by their course are coasting hitherward.
Let us withdraw, my lords. Prepare our troops to charge the rebels, if there be such cause. For this lewd priest, this devilish hypocrite, that is a thief, a gamester and what not, let him be hanged up for example's sake.
Not so, my gracious sovereign. I confess that I am a frail man, flesh and blood, as other are, but set my imperfections aside. By this light, ye have not a taller man, not a truer subject to the crown and state than Sir John of Wrotham.
Will a true subject rob his king?
Alas, 'twas ignorance and want, my gracious liege.
'Twas want of grace. Why, you should be as salt to season others with a good document. Your lives as lamps to give the people light, as shepherds, not as wolves to spoil the flock. Go hang him, Butler.
Didst thou not rob me?
I must confess, I saw some of your gold, but my dread lord, I am in no humour for death, therefore, save my life. God's will that sinners live. Do not you cause me to die. Once in their lives, the best may go astray. And if the world says true, yourself, my liege, have been a thief.
I confess I have, but I repent and have reclaimed myself.
So will I do, if you give me time.
Wilt thou? My lords, will you be his sureties?
But when he robs again, he shall be hanged.
I ask no more.
And we will grant thee that. Live and repent, and prove an honest man, which when I hear, and safe return from France, I'll give thee living. Till then, take thy gold, but spend it better than at cards or wine, for better virtues fit that coat of thine.
Vivat Rex, and curat Lex, my liege. If ye have cause of battle, you shall see Sir John of Wrotham bestir himself in your quarrel.
And they exit Wrotham in a proper pickle there. Yeah, it's straight on from the previous scene, basically going from escalation of the situation very, very quickly there, and following the general rule of you've got a situation, now make it worse, and lo and behold, the situation just gets worse. It's important from the beginning that the king is still in disguise, and Suffolk sort of gives the game away a bit by going, "May it please your highness, no, shush, shush, still in incognito, shush, just Harry. And that's quite important." Rachael, you're waving from very much the off.
No, just Munday's love for disguise, and Eric said it in the chat, but I thought the same thing when they were saying Wrotham was dressed in green. Have they pulled out the Robin Hood costume, the old Robin Hood costume for this one? And just how, on that, just how the first part of Robert, Earl of Huntington, this is like that in Wrotham really reminds me of the Sheriff of Nottingham, the Shreve in that, because he starts out as like this serious evil character, and then like in that one we have, it's like the Sheriff of Nottingham is so I guess such a rotter, and then you have just the clown car opens and you kind of have all the just this huge comedy moment of everybody watching knows this is the king, and he's the only one who's not in on this joke.
Though I should just mention, yes, Munday is definitely involved in this text, of course. Whether he wrote this bit or not, nobody knows. There's lots of hands in this play, but the idea that Munday wouldn't be one of nudging everyone, going, let's have a disguising. Come on, we can have a disguising, can't we? Let's have some disguises, because that's pretty much his shtick. So yeah, we can go with that. But yeah, there's so much fun here, and you know we've got a dance. Dick and George do some dancing. It'd be interesting to see what their dancing is like. Dance for the king. And then they play at dice, and of course, yes, we find out really quickly why Wrotham is very poor, because he's crap at gambling. He's unbelievably rubbish and ends up gambling. And of course, he's gambling with the king's own money. I mean, that's the thing. He's just literally robbed the king, and now he's giving the money back to the king in here. And of course, that's how they find the split coin that we had at the end of the last scene. Other thoughts from the room? Who wants to leap in? Lynn, then Eric.
Yeah, Wrotham definitely has some impulse control problems. Yeah, I'm just sort of loving the kind of gritty texture. I don't know, gritty might be not the right word, but this sort of everydayness of some of these scenes, dancing and gambling, and it's just so earthy. And there's just something so real about it. I'm really enjoying that.
Eric.
I was going to say, what exactly are the coins made of? Is it that easy to break a coin in two, or is it just like sort of? Yeah, I'm just curious because it's like it seems like an important point.
If they are literally gold, then it's a very soft metal.
Yeah.
As opposed to an alloy or something like that. So, yeah. Other thoughts on this? Rachael?
Just the butler coming in at the end. Didst thou not rob me? Just like...
Have you robbed everyone? Is there anyone here who hasn't been robbed by this guy?
Anyone? But he's going to reform.
Yeah. Oh, I loved Huntington's line on that, you know. Will you be as sureties? Yes, that if he robs again, we'll hang him ourselves. You know?
Yeah.
We're not going to be a surety for his good character. We'll be surety for his punishment.
Yeah.
Eric.
On the condition that this is his last chance. We're like so over this guy.
Yeah.
I just wanted to like flag up a line that says, yeah, there was a thief in face much like Sir John, but 'twas not he. That thief was all in green, because of course it's not the same person, because he was wearing green. It's just like sort of, I know it's him, but hey.
Yeah, presumably, yeah. The Wrotham is no longer in his stealing disguise. He's in a different disguise. So yeah, multiple disguises. In fact, maybe the king's in a slightly different disguise from the disguise he had on earlier, so that Wrotham doesn't recognise him. But then again, it's presumably dark and they can't see and stuff. Does anyone get the impression that anyone's actually afraid of this fight that's presumably coming later? You know, in theory, there's this massive army, but they're all quite relaxed, just going, you know, well, we're just going to put this down and then we'll get back to planning a French invasion.
Yeah. In a couple of scenes ago, when King Henry was like, and you go to this and you go to this, and there's a big army coming, you did get a little sense of urgency there, but that seems to have diffused quite a bit here.
It's not like they're playing dice to diffuse tension. They're just going, well, we're bored. Have a dance. Helen.
Yeah, I also very much at the beginning of the game got the impression that Henry, the king, was being a complete pain. Everybody wanted to get some shut-eye, but he wasn't tired. So all his intimates had to sit round and play dice with him when they would much rather, as they suggested, get their head down.
Anyway, we've got one more scene to read this session. In the scene coming up, in theory, Wrotham is on and has one line. I will read that line because it clashes with Dan reading Murley, who we met earlier and had a lot of time for. But after an alarum, as we're going to Act 4, Scene 2, enter Harry, Suffolk, Huntington, Sir John, bringing forth Acton, Beverley and Murley, prisoners.
Bring in those traitors whose aspiring minds thought to have triumphed in our overthrow, but now ye see, base villains, what success attends ill actions wrongfully attempted. Sir Roger Acton, thou retainest the name of knight, and shouldst be more discreetly tempered than join with peasants. Gentry is divine, but thou hast made it more than popular.
Pardon, my lord, my conscience urged me to it.
Thy conscience? Then thy conscience is corrupt, for in thy conscience thou art bound to us, and in thy conscience thou shouldst love thy country. Else what's the difference twixt a Christian and the uncivil manners of the Turk?
We meant no hurt unto your majesty, but reformation of religion.
Reform religion? Was that what ye sought? I pray, who gave you that authority? Belike then, we do hold the sceptre up, and sit within this throne but for a cipher. Time was, good subjects would have made known their grief, and pray amendment, not enforce the same, unless their king were tyrant, which I hope you cannot justly say that Harry is. What is that other?
A malt man, my lord, and dwelling in Dunstable, as he says.
Sirrah, what made you leave your barley broth to come in armour thus against your king?
Aye, poultry to and fro, in and out upon occasion. What a world's this? Knighthood, my liege, 'twas knighthood brought me hither. They told me I had wealth enough to make my wife a lady.
And so you brought those horses which we saw, trapped all in costly furniture, and meant to wear these spurs when you were knighted once?
In and out upon occasion, I did.
In and out upon occasion, therefore, you shall be handed, and in the stead of wearing these spurs upon your heels, about your neck, they shall bewray your folly to the world.
In and out upon occasion, that goes hard.
Aye, poultry, to and fro. Good, my liege, a pardon. I am sorry for my fault.
That comes too late. But tell me, went there none besides Sir Roger Acton upon whom you did depend to be your governor?
None, my lord, but Sir John Oldcastle.
Bears he part in this conspiracy?
Enter the bishop.
We looked, my lord, that he would meet us here.
But did he promise you that he would come?
Such letters were we received forth of Kent.
Where is my lord the king? Health to your grace. Examining, my lord, some of these caitiff rebels, it is a general voice amongst them all that they had never come onto this place, but to have met their valiant general, the good Lord Cobham, as they title him. Whereby, my lord, your grace may now perceive his treason is apparent, which before he sought to colour by his flattery.
Now, by my royalty, I would have sworn that for his conscience, which I bear withal, there had not lived a more true-hearted subject.
It is but counterfeit, my gracious lord, and therefore may it please your majesty to set your hand unto this precept here, by which will cause him to be forthwith appear and answer this by order of the law.
Bishop, not only that, but take commission to search, attach, imprison, and condemn this most notorious traitor as you please.
It shall be done, my lord, without delay, for now I hold Lord Cobham in my hand, that which shall finish thy disdained life.
I think the Iron Age begins but now, which learned poets have so often taught, wherein there is no credit to be given to either words or looks or solemn oaths. For if there were, how often hath he sworn, how gently tuned the music of his tongue, and with what amiable face beheld he me, when all, God knows, was but hypocrisy.
And enter Cobham.
Long life and prosperous reign unto my lord.
Ah, villain! Canst thou wish prosperity whose heart includeth naught but treachery? I do arrest thee here myself, false knight, of treason capital against the state.
Of treason, mighty prince? Your grace mistakes. I hope it is but in the way of mirth.
Thy neck shall feel is in earnest shortly. Darest thou intrude into our presence, knowing how heinously thou hast offended us? But this is thy accustomed deceit. Now thou perceivest thy purpose is in vain. With some excuse or other thou wilt come to cleanse thyself of this rebellion.
Rebellion, good my lord? I know of none.
If you deny it, here is evidence. See you these men? You never counselled nor offered them assistance in their wars?
Speak, sirs. Not one, but all. I crave no favour. Have ever I been conversant with you, or written letters to encourage you, or kindled but the least or smallest part of this your late unnatural rebellion? Speak, for I dare the utmost that you can.
In and out upon occasion, I know you not.
No? Didst not say that Sir John Oldcastle was one with whom you purposed to have met?
True, I did say so, but in what respect? Because I heard it was reported so.
Was there no other argument but that?
To clear my conscience ere I die, my lord, I must confess we have no other ground but only rumour to accuse this lord, which now I see was merely fabulous.
The more pernicious you to taint him then, whom you knew not was faulty, yea or no?
Let this, my lord, which I present your grace, speak for my loyalty. Read these articles, and then give sentence of my life or death.
Earl Cambridge, Scroop and Grey corrupted with bribes from Charles of France, either to win my crown from me or secretly contrive my death by treason. Is this possible?
There is the platform, and their hands, my lord, each severally subscribed to the same.
Oh, never heard of base ingratitude. Even those I hug within my bosom most are readiest evermore to sting my heart. Pardon me, Cobham, I've done thee wrong. Hereafter I will live to make amends. Is then their time of meeting so near hand? We'll meet with them, but little for their ease, if God permit. Go, take these rebels hence, let them have martial law. But as for thee, friend to thy king and country, still be free.
And exit the king, probably with Cobham.
Be it more or less, what a world is this? What I had continued still of the order of knaves and never sought knighthood since it cost so dear. Sir Roger, I may thank you for all.
Now 'tis too late to have it remedied. I prithee, Murley, do not urge me with it.
Will you away and make no more to do?
Thy paltry, to and fro as occasion serves. If you be so hasty, take my place.
No, good Sir Knight, you shall begin in your hand.
I could be glad to give my betters place.
And they exit Farewell Rebellion. So yeah, Cobham plays his get out of jail free card that he prepared earlier at just the right moment as well. He's got one set of people, and I'm coming to the conclusion like that Murray is basically someone who bought tickets for the Fire Festival. As that, you know, he's turned up. He's expected all this wonderful tents and, bands playing. It's going to be great. And the whole thing's turned out to be a con. And in fact, none of the acts actually were properly booked for the event at all. So, yeah, that's. I mean, it doesn't seem like actually these rebels are getting too deaded. It looks like the king's being reasonably nice to them actually in terms of the way this works. So, it's not leaving so potentially unpleasant a tone, because we quite liked Murley and his rebel alliance. Yeah. Thoughts from the room about this scene? It's all been carefully set up, and all the. I mean, what more action is there left to happen? You know, Rachael.
No, just Murley's last line is so good. I could be glad to give my betters place. If you want to, I would have rather the situation was, flipped. That he's saying there, and also just we have these. What is it? No, never mind. That's all I wanted to say. I like that Murley line. There really are these great one-liners in this play. The Butler in the last act, and then Murley here.
And it's and it does seem the king is looking at this rebellion, going, "Yeah, this is what we got excited about." He really doesn't seem that impressed, or and he's going, "Who's been rebelling against us? Oh, a malt man. Right, that's nice. And where are you rebelling from? Dunstable. Very good."
So I'm starting to get real Monty Python vibes here. I can start seeing John Cleese and
I mean, it's a really good question about tone as well, because we haven't really talked about the tone of this, because this is it's a history play. It is doing a job of history, of events that, broadly speaking, occurred. But it also, some of it's very light, and it's doing all sorts of interesting things. Lynn.
Yeah, and your cavalry is a bunch of tricked out draft horses. I mean, I think that when Rachael said, so basically they're bringing farm equipment. That's basically it. It's kind of like they're bringing tractors to a battle, but with lots of banners. Yeah, and I think that if you were going to stage this, you would want to try to make that really clear. It's basically, they're bringing farm equipment to a rebellion, and they bless them, they don't know what they're doing. It's just their lives are kind of boring, and this seems really fun.
Yeah, I mean, earlier when they were sorting out horses, I'm now looking back at that going, right, they've got to all get into wheelbarrows and be wheeled off then, or something silly like that. It depends how far you want to push it, and where. I think there's a thing in the way it plays, actually, how this all flows together, and it's a question for tomorrow when we complete the play, how it's all going to flow together. Helen, any thoughts from you?
If you're looking at medieval revolts, I don't think you ought to underestimate agricultural implements as lethal weapons. Also, I'm pretty sure you could kill a man with a malt shovel. But what I wanted to say was that I think we haven't looked at the bishop. The bishop, I forget who his bishop is. It Rochester?
Yes.
He's really got it in for Cobham.
He's a baddie.
And he sets it up and sets it up and sets it up, and he thinks he's got him. And then it all falls apart, and he doesn't have a line to show his complete and total chagrin. But I think that whoever's playing the bishop has got a job of work to do there.
Well, to be fair, he's going to get a chance to let off some steam next scene, so he does return. But no, it's a good point. He's got nothing to say there, has he? I mean, what would he say apart from "Drats"? I would have got away with it if it wasn't for those pesky
curses forward again.
If it wasn't for the pesky truth.
Yeah, but I mean, you've got to. It's fair dues on the bishop for not liking him, because he Cobham is properly blasphemous from his point of view. He is a dangerous man.
Is the bishop Sir John Wrotham's immediate ecclesiastical superior? I'm wondering.
I wonder.
Maybe not immediate. Possibly two steps in the hierarchy up.
You think there's an archdeacon somewhere involved?
Probably.
To be fair to the bishop, I don't know the bishop is ever moustache twirly.
No.
I think he is he's a genuine person, that he doesn't, he's the enemy, but he so far seems quite genuine. Lynn, then Eric.
Well, yeah, I think the bishop's his motives are mixed. He does in yesterday's session. I think it was the bishop who called Cobham a dangerous heretic. He did actually, invoke a religious reason for wanting to take Cobham down. But a lot of his other discourse was about Cobham's threat to the power and wealth and prestige of the church, much more material and superficial concerns. So I think that the bishop has a real ambiguous mix of reasons. I mean, it's partly that, yes, perhaps the bishop genuinely thinks that the Pope is the head of the church and the apostolic succession and blah blah blah, all of that, and that Cobham is just wrong. He's a heretic, and he's gonna like lead people down the primrose path to hell. And it's partly that, like, I'm a bishop and I have lots of power and influence and I live very well. And if the church hierarchy is threatened, that threatens my way of life. I think both.
Okay, we're into extra time, so I'll go to Eric and then I'll go around the room for final thoughts.
I was going to say, maybe like here where we've got Murley basically being laid off, presumably to either be hanged or some other, punishment. It kind of feels like this is the trope of, killing the clown a bit before you launch into something more serious. But I don't know if that's just me or, preempting stuff that I've not read yet. Or, yeah.
I'm not so sure that they're off for death. It seemed to me that the king was sort of more going for humiliation than death, but I don't know. I may have missed that. Did anyone see death?
He says martial law, so I don't know what that means in terms of.
I felt they were going to kill him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's what I felt. I could be proved wrong.
Well, it's just when he was talking about wearing the things around it, the spurs around it, was that around his neck? Was that a thing to do with being hanged, or was that a thing to just we're just going to parade you through the streets as a bunch of idiots?
Well, parade you. The one doesn't preclude the other.
Oh, this is true.
Yeah. I mean, very often parading through the streets prior to hanging was a thing.
But how many of the rebels do you kill? Do you just kill the leaders, or do you? How many people are going to kill here?
Yeah, but this guy was elite. This guy was the money man.
But he's also an idiot.
Yeah, I don't think that's a defense
I'm just asking.
Treason. I really don't.
Does the text give us any absolute decision as to what's their fate?
I mean, no. You could obviously play it another way.
Alan,
I must admit, I would not offer life assurance for Morley, but I suspect that Sir whatever it is, Acton, will
probably
walk away because the rich will, as usual, look after their own.
No, Acton's definitely for the chop.
Yeah, that's. I was thinking completely the reverse, actually. That you take out the nobles in this case because they've got much more option to be dangerous. But anyway, I think that's one for digging, and also maybe just production. There may be additional information later on. I suspect not, but maybe we'll get a better idea what's going to happen to them, and or just make a production choice as to what happens, as to the tone of the play, in the direction, of course, what the final third or so of the play is going to be doing tonally, because we will be returning to that later. Let's go around the room for final thoughts. Dan joining us for this session. But dipping into some fun old text there by accident as well as design. Any final thoughts?
Not really too developed yet, other than I really love this play. Once again, Munday doesn't disappoint. Jolly romp, playing around with history in a way that's interesting to me, to make me want to learn more about what really happened back in the day, as well as what happens in this play. So it's taking me along. You have a nice, fun character in Wrotham to me, who I think can be played many, many ways, which I really like about it. There isn't one way. It's not just, well, he's a ruffian or a I mean, yeah, he's absolutely a scoundrel, but he's a scoundrel that you can play in many different fashions, which I really like about him. So yeah, that's all I've got for now.
Yeah, I think it's a good point that, the play is giving us options. I mean, that's the thing that, and that's always the thing I'm looking for, is to say, well, that it could swing in a production could swing in slightly different directions, and there's enough room for manoeuvre in this text. But yeah, other thoughts are available. Lynn, any final thoughts?
Yeah, my response is very much like Dan's. It's a jolly romp. There's so much to enjoy here, and just scene after scene, there's something, there's like fun things to dig out, and the characterizations, they're not like, gee, I just sort of have to make up a character out of whole cloth. He does give you a lot to work with, and just a sense that these are people, that there's something down to earth about it. So yeah, I'm just enjoying it.
And I'm just with even relatively minor characters like Suffolk and things, even if the dialogue isn't giving them too much to play with, the situations that they're placed in gives them lots of options and room to breathe there, and I think that gives actors something to lean towards. Helen, any final thoughts?
Oh, I love this play. I absolutely adore it. I've known it existed, but I've never read it before, and I can't think what I've been doing all my life.
Lalitte, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I would really like to see it staged, because it's not a play that's about particularly amazing lines. It's the situations and the interaction of the characters with those situations that generates a lot of the humour. I have to admit, I find Wrotham I almost want him to be the lead, and I'm not as interested in Cobham. So, I don't know if I'm meant to think that, but so far, Cobham, as Helen said, doesn't have any kind of shade to him, really. So, whereas Rotham's kind of got all that kind of anti-hero potential.
Yeah, if Cobham was on stage more, I think we'd get tired of him very, very quickly. The fact that the play is again, it's an ensemble piece, really, and I'm really interested in plays that function using a large cast with recurring characters, or at least semi-recurring characters, and what they do with them. And I find that really engaging, and the way it's telling this story as well, in dialogue that is characterful, and telling us about character, and doing an excellent job on that front. I think it's giving actors something to do. I like that. Eric, final thoughts?
You said ensemble piece, and now I'm thinking of like the downfall and death of Robert of Huntington, because that was very much that. It didn't have Robert was, Robin Hood, aka was basically boring until he turned into Robin Hood, going, "Yes, I will become a merry man because this is funny." Yeah, it kind of, I don't know. It's interesting because like yesterday I was thinking, this is a very serious play. This is what's going on here. They're just, yeah. And suddenly it feels like today we've stepped into a different play.
Yeah, it yesterday had potential for comedy, but it opens with this acts of violence, but it could be played as a funnier introduction, and certainly a dramatic introduction. It has a certain blockbuster appeal to this as well. Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, it's certainly moves at a cracking pace. I think you're right that it's an ensemble piece, and I get the impression that it was written by people who'd got a lot of experience of maybe doing their own set pieces, because there seem to be a number of scenes in this which are almost transportable. You could take certain scenes out of it and almost do them as part of a cabaret style production almost, to make them work. Not that they're not working within the context of the piece, but they would actually stand alone in some cases. The Wrotham and Dole sequences, I think, would stand up on their own. Overall, it certainly seems to be one of the better ones that we've done of late in terms of the pace of it working.
You say that before the final session. You're invoking the curse.
I appreciate I'm doing that, but unfortunately, a number of the things I'm getting resonances from would immediately attract various wildfowl.
Yes, in which case we'll move on. Yes, it's I think that's an interesting structural thing about a play that is made up of parts, but which still functions very well as a whole. And I think that there's interesting. We've had this with other plays, solely authored as well as multi-authored, about how you tell a story and what kind of stories you're telling and how they intersect and connect. And sometimes they don't connect at all. I mean, we just did the 2 lamentable tragedies, which were totally separate but weirdly sort of held together. And it's a really interesting question about how one tells stories. Rachael, final thoughts?
No, I feel much more tuned into this today than yesterday. Maybe it was the little history lesson before today's session, or just that I know the setup of this now. I mean, there are little sections that I think you could take out of this and do a little short bit if you just wanted to do that little short bit. And also I do feel that the same way that there is so much, there's so many different ways you could do this and so many different things that are here to explore for actors. And I wonder if there's any days or something, like in the future when we don't have enough people for like a full play, if we could workshop some of these scenes, because there's just these little parts in some of these where it's the handing off of these objects that have so much symbolism, that it would be wonderful to dig into them a little more, because this is definitely something that I think offers more, not more, but offers something else on every read, or has the potential to offer something else on every read.
Yeah, we're talking about this moving, being a romp, moving at a great pace, but there's scenes which actually I think come alive because actually they slow down and time contract, time expands, and those bits where people are signing papers and how long that takes and who's looking, and those moments with the king. I mean, the king's interesting because on a surface read, the king is quite straightforward and quite dull, but actually. The more I look at him, the more I'm thinking the situations and the ways and the directions that the king could go in actually could be played in really interesting ways. The king interests me as well as others, and even Cobham. I'm sure there's more to be got out of Cobham with a little bit. Anyway, that is sadly all we have time for this session. We will be completing our journey through Sir John Oldcastle next time. We've got slightly more text to get through and a lot more characters. Suddenly, we have an awful lot of ancillary people randomly turning up next time, so it's going to get quite crowded, and fingers crossed it's all going to go like clockwork. All that remains to thank all the wonderful readers for their reading and their thoughts. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. God's will, I am in a proper pickle.